Oh shit, my phone fell, but that don't matter. What's up with y'all, man? Welcome everybody new. Hi, I'm Lex. Some of you do know me from Mike's channel. That's why you're here. But to get a little bit of a better understanding of me and who I am, hopefully I got this YouTube thing worked out, and you can see that info button link right there. That's a playlist for drifting. And then most of you who are fairly aware of me as of recently know we've been fucking with bikes for a little bit. So obviously I do have motorcycle playlists too, but for this, which is my current project right now, you can hit that info button right there as well. We've got parts coming all the time.
Yeah, man, look, this dude got packages.
Hey, good evening, good evening.
What's good with y'all?
Oh man, dude. Hey,
yeah.
just out here. Excuse me while I have some root beer, which actually is beer. Yesterday, I did get out here and I cut my Yoshimura. The TRS is now extremely short. It used to come out to about here, if y'all remember that. It was about 5 more inches added onto this entire length. I didn't want to cut it too short, but I wanted it to be a little bit shorter. So it was the most in-depth thing that is the simplest to do. I mean, I had to measure it, cut it, disassemble the end cap that had the carbon fiber that was glued on it on top of being riveted with 2 rings plus that support brace. It was just so much extra shit that I didn't even know was gonna go on. Plus, I've never done it before. That exhaust is already done. The YouTube video I looked at, they did it, but I don't know if because I started from this side or I did this side instead of that side, it was tougher. I'm really not sure what the deal was, but boy, it was a doozy. But you can see where the hanger was, and that is the distance that we shortened it. So it came out exactly how I wanted it. This is the length that I thought would work good on this bike, so it does, in fact, look really good. But the process got messed up because that GoPro SD card went full like that, and I didn't hear it beep, so all of the work that I did that I was going to time-lapse, it ain't there. As we're waiting on some stuff to come for this, Mike took his 750 to the dyno to get tuned and everything today. I was supposed to bring the R6 with him, but he did it in a weekday. So I did talk to the tuner. He said he will come down to tune the bike whenever I'm ready. So we could just do it on the weekend. No big deal. So this bike should be ready for tune right now. And then I talked to Pro Style Wrap. They said they're good to wrap the bike on the 16th, or they'll try to figure out sometime during the week to get it done. But I think the 16th will do. That'll give me, I don't know, some time to mess up some more money in other places. Let that be a hint. Anyway, today here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the riding height of the FZR, the OG, the baby boy that started it off for me. This one is going to be changed for riding height. So I got on it and I rode it the other day just real quick because I put a new front tire on it and front wheel, everything, whatever. Now, these bikes I've been riding and they both have an aggressive forward raked stance. Now this bike, if y'all do remember, I changed to a 2017 rear shock from an MT-07 and I've got the 2006 R6 front end on it. The suspension is great. The bike is super rigid. I have the rear, it's raised up probably about 4 inches from what it naturally sits as, but the front end is lowered maybe about an inch, inch and a half. But because of the feel of these two bikes, the forward rake is far more drastic on those and they do feel so much better. And you can see right now, this bike is kind of linear, like it just is linear front to back, whereas these all have the forward rake. Which is, you know, inherent for those, but I want this bike to feel the same way. Even though it's a whole different era, generation, dismiss all that. I want it to feel similar. So I'm gonna lower the front about 2 inches. Now it's very simple to do. Loosen up the triple tree up here, and then right down there on the lower portion of the steering stem, got 2 Allens right there. We're gonna loosen those up. and we should be able to just slide the front end down. You're gonna see a gap show up right here. I wanna make that gap about 2 inches. Maybe, nah, that's gonna be excessive. All right, so you see this right here? We're probably just gonna drop this down about 1 inch. So it'll stick up about 1 inch out of the top collar of the clip-ons, and that's gonna give us exactly what we need, I think, for the better, more aggressive feel on this bike. I don't want it to visually change or visually represent a forward rake that much, but I do want to get the forward rake feel and get that handling. And I think 1 inch will probably be fine. And I don't want it to look too crazy with having too much fork sticking up out of here, because I don't want to run into any handling issues that are not easily overcame, and we don't want to hit the fairing stay. So let's get on that. Let me just start loosening this shit up.
Kids just taking a paintbrush and going ham, and then clear coating over that.
Hey, well, you know, that is a BMW, and BMW does have the art car, and that's generally what they do with them BMWs. You ever seen the BMW art cars?
Nah.
So IMSA, just when you get on the phone or whatever, just Google BMW art car. And what they did was their historic race cars, they literally just let somebody have a paintbrush and went ham on them.
Bruh, hey, I see it. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So you can make your bike like that. All right, so I had a phone call in the middle of that. So you're probably just coming off of seeing me do the work, but not hearing me speak about the work because I was on the phone. But anyway, we got this all set up. 2¼ inches from the base of the triple tree to the top of the shock head right here. So same on both sides, everything's evened out. Gives the bike just a little bit of a lower front, so it's not as even, as flat of a plane as it typically is. And I mean, you don't really visually see it being that much lower, but it feels better. And man, this bike is so fucking cool, man. It's so small and so low, but then it looks so bulky. But that's just how they made these bikes back in the late 80s. Early 90s. This is such a cool ass bike. And to see some of the progression from what they were doing with, they thought they were going to do tight, thin, low profile sidewall wheels. This is an 18-inch wheel in the back, 17-inch wheel in the front. And as you see, all the other bikes now are 17 wheels in the back with thick sidewalls. So this was just like a specific point in time where they were trying to trick the bike handling into being like, you know, very oversteery, but the suspension was so soft, these bikes would slide out of corners all the time. And as I've explained before, it was the 600 Shootout King for 1991-92. And they only made this headlight style, the single fox eye, for 91-92. They had double headlights before and then double headlights after. So this is kind of the rare setup, if we were to call it rare. But there's not as many made for this as there are for the others. So that gives this a pretty cool stance. I will go out and ride this. I know I haven't ridden it in quite a long time, but I mean, she does still fire right up. Oh, did E leave it in gear? Oh, my boy brought it in. You know, for a carbureted bike, that ain't bad. This bad girl's a beast, and I've kind of set it on the back burner because I used to commute on this bike every day because I wanted a nice little comfortable cool bike to commute on. So that's why I chose this specific bike. When I found it, obviously I was in love with it, but it's just a really cool comfortable bike to ride. And it was quick enough, right? Like I'm not gonna do too much on this bike because it's not overpowered, right? I used to keep my money right here for the toll bridge, and you know, it was just like very, very usable. So this was 90 horsepower, 91 horsepower, and 43 pound-feet of torque. You know, those are like 120 something horsepower and 30 something pound-feet of torque. This is like 150 something horsepower with like 70 pound-feet of torque. So it's just, you know, this doesn't rev out too far. It doesn't do too much, but it does just enough that you can have a blast for sport bikes. And then, you know, when you have options, this is a great additive. And there's nothing on these bikes I can't do on this. So even wheelies on this, I wheelie the shit out this bike. It's mad fun. Sprockets are stock and old and crunchy, right? Matter of fact, I can change to that one. Oh, that might be what I do. But it depends if the sprocket count, because that's a 48 tooth. So if this is lower, but you know what? No, because this bike already doesn't have enough gear. It only does about 130 miles an hour. So, you know, I could do things, but I've already modified the points that I felt needed to be modified. Whereas the rear suspension was too soft, we have a better rear suspension. The front suspension was too thin and skinny. We've got a better front suspension. It's all more modern shit. So it makes this bike really rigid, and it makes this bike feel really good given the age of the bike. So, I think we might do a 520 conversion so that I can run lighter sprockets, because this is really a big old thick fat chain and sprocket. So that'll give the bike more acceleration that I'll be looking for, but it won't change the tooth count, which will hinder the top speed. So anyway, just something real quick to do in the garage. Like I said, it's corona'd out. The fools across the street are not respecting social distancing, and they're trying to park on my motherfucking driveway, and I ain't having not a bit of that. So I'm just chilling right now. I'm gonna go back inside, but it's cooler in the garage than it is in the house, and I don't feel like turning on the AC. So we got some more tires in for the R1. The R1 is mad beast, and I've been putting in so much work on this motherfucker. It is a good bike. I really do like older motorcycles and mid 2000 motorcycles. The shit's jam. They have a good amount of torque, good amount of power. I mean, that's kind of been my thing as of lately. But I've been just collecting Yamahas. So old boy, kind of old boy, and I do have another newer boy in the back, and I want to get a brand new bouncing baby boy here pretty soon. You're gonna have to stay tuned to see what I grab, but as you can tell, Yamaha. You kind of know what the fuck it's gonna be, right? It's gonna be a Yamaha. So we got some shit coming. But as for this bike, it's been putting in a lot of work. These ball tires have been really scary to ride on because, believe it or not, this bike makes wheel spin when you accelerate. It's manageable, right? You can handle it, but it does make wheel spin. But we got some tires. We're gonna throw those on, and then that's gonna solve that damn problem. Then I'm gonna really be able to get low on this bad boy and really not worry about low siding it because I ran out of tire. Cause boy, you stay tuned. So for this experience, it's over, and I'm gonna get y'all too.